The day the day dawned bright, the sun cheery across the rooftops. For what is the suffering of man to the sun? The suffering of the insignificant ants that crawl across the surface of this world. The night before had been full of horror, and the city in the morning was chained beneath the yoke of oppression. A once happy and free city, now locked beneath the hand of a ruler it never requested. But the sun was bright, and the city looked cheery. People moved quietly from place to place, words spoken in hushed whispers with eyes flickering left, right, checking for the guards that now walked the streets. The city itself had once been a proud and prosperous place, capital of a proud and prosperous kingdom. Small, yes. Bordered on all sides by powers greater than itself, yes. But Chrysali had always been a strong, independent kingdom. That had been damaged when the queen had died. Only in her early 30s, a proud and well-done monarch, she died leaving the country in the hands of her 15-year-old daughter. The years had passed, and the stewardship of the old general had been successful. The princess had learnt to rule and had slowly stepped into her place. And Chrysalis had been ready to thrive again. That was until the night. The night when another kingdom decided Chrysalis was weak. Chrysalis was ripe. Chrysalis had things they wanted. And so they had marched. They had flown on the ships of the sky, and they had descended upon the capital city. Everyone knew they were coming. It's hard to hide an army that large. Chrysalis, being a small kingdom, couldn't oppose them. And so the only thing that could be done was done. The guard were hidden. The soldiers laid down their weapons and armor. And the vulnerable people gathered together under the watchful hand of a brave few, to ready themselves for what would be an unpleasant night. Down in the basement of the castle, amid the dungeons and the torture rooms that even the greatest and most noble of castles still holds, there was the sound of shouting. "You will tell me where she is," came the cry. The man who shouted was corpulent, to say the least, rotund, with short, spindle-like legs, and a paunchy, round face, with vein-sputtled cheeks, and a bulbous, alcohol-reddened nose. He wore a breastplate, burnished and polished to a pure shine. But he had never seen combat. The man could barely reach round his girth to get to his sword, which hung limp and useless at his belt. He thought himself a battle leader. He thought himself a ruler by the sword. But in truth, he'd only ever killed one man. In comparison, the elderly man chained to the chair in front of him, chain wrapped round his arms and legs, chain wrapped around his throat to keep him bound tight to the chair, was a different sort of soul. Stripped to the waist, his body showed age and muscle, fat worn away by the rigors of his life. His skin hung loose, as the elderly skin is long to do, but his body showed the work that had never ended, fitness that had never abated in his elder age. His face covered with a rough beard. Unfortunately, marring his chest were several thick black patches, a testament to the use of the hot brand held in the hands of the torturer standing beside him. The corpulent fellow sneered, "You have lost. Your kingdom is mine, and I will know where she is." The elderly man in the chair actually chuckled. Pain ripped through every sound that came from his mouth, but he managed to chuckle. "You'll never find her." The corpulent man yelled in rage and waved his hand at the torturer. There was a loud hiss and a sharp cry from the elderly man as the branding iron stabbed into his chest again. As the branding iron was pulled away, his head hung limp, chin almost touching his chest. The corpulent man sneered, "You won't last long here. Tell me, and I might make your end merciful." Sitting bound to the chair, the old general muttered something. The corpulent man grinned. "That's it. Tell me what I need to know." And he leaned closer. The general muttered again under his voice, and the corpulent man frowned, leaning closer. "Tell me, tell me." The general suddenly leaned his head forward, his teeth wrapping around the ear of the corpulent man, and as he wrenched his head backwards and twisted, the ear tore. Blood poured down the face of the corpulent man, and the general smirked, spitting pieces of flesh into the face of his captor. "You can kill me. Feel free. You'll never get your hands on her, and if you ever do, you'll regret it. You might have, what, 15,000 soldiers in this town? 20? 30? There's over 200,000 citizens here, and every one of them would lose their life for her. I dare you to find her. I dare you to bring her back. She'll be your undoing. And I hope I'm alive long enough to watch as the blade, carried by whoever it is who finally finds you, sinks through your fat stomach." Most of this was lost, of course. Completely lost, because the corpulent man was screaming and holding a hand to the side of his head. Reasonable reaction to having your ear ripped off, I suppose. He fled from the room, off to seek the surgeons that attended him. The torturer threw the branding iron to the side and slumped himself back in a wooden chair near the corner of the room. "Oh, good God, General Verana. You're a braver man than I, or a more foolish one. I'm not sure which, but good God, that was funny." Verana grinned, and the torturer grinned back. "No hard feelings, right?" Verana grinned again. "Oh, there's hard feelings. If I ever get out of these chains, I'm going to rip your ears off too." The skyship was named Destiny. The name was emblazoned in bright gold running across the side of the prow. The sails caught the wind and danced it around the ship, and the ship sailed through the clouds as free as a bird. And that was the draw of Skysail for those on the ship. freedom. Freedom from oppression, freedom from their past, freedom from the lives they longed to flee. The Destiny was captained by Nicholas. Nicholas was a young man, wore a bandana wrapped around his head in the tradition of sky pirates. From his belt hung a light rapier, and on his back he wore the parawings that sky sailors often wore to protect themselves from falls. He was confident and moved the levers that controlled the weights and sails of the ship without any difficulty at all, and the ship sailed on. Behind it, as it crossed the border, a few small border posts burnt in the morning light. Chrysalis was dead, and there was nothing more there for the sky pirates. But they had one last task to complete, one last duty to perform. Having taken payment for it and honouring the Sky Code, they weren't going to simply turn down their last task. They had a young man on board, son of a noble. They'd been paid well to take him to another city, and that's what they'd do. Of course, didn't mean they couldn't make some additional profit on the side, and so the captain, flicking the levers, hove to the side and headed for another port, where they could pick up some additional cargo and perhaps make a little bit of extra money on the way. The young noble boy was quiet and calm and spent most of his time staying in his cabin. The captain liked that. It wasn't something he enjoyed, having petulant little noblemen wandering around on his vessel. But for now, it was acceptable. So as he looked to the horizon and looked to the sky trader's platform in the city of Maran, he thought, he was getting paid. He just had to drop the brat off. What he didn't see, which may have given him another thought, were the two vessels high above the clouds that were tracking his movements. They were scout ships sent by the invading army, and they were following every ship that left Chrysalis, hoping to find the greatest of prizes, the princess. Thank you all for watching. This has been the first of a short story series here on the Gaming Droid. Sorry, here on the Learning Droid, not the Gaming Droid. Several people have said they'd like to hear some stories from me, so this has been the first of a short story series, The Invasion of Chrysalis. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!